Yeah, Nancy Kasten, when you speak about anti-Semitic language, as I've read through there, tell me, can you be a little more specific about some specific anti-Semitic language that you're citing?
Well, there are references to Jews and to Hebrews and to Jewish communities in other countries, in the Holy Land, in Rome, that portray Jews as opponents of Christ, as also there are images of Jews as being very preoccupied with money and other images that have been used with.
Okay, and by the way, it says that there are certain things that are historical. It says that the Apostle Paul was dragged out of town by the Jews and stoned, and I mean those are facts.
Well, again, I think what we read in the Bible, we have different approaches to our history. We see those incidences in different contexts, just as we do our American history.
Right.
So again, right now we're facing a situation in Texas and throughout the country where anti-Semitism is on the rise and and race-based hatred is on the rise. So I think it's incumbent on us when we're educating our youngest students to talk about the things that unite us and bring us together.
Yeah. Let me just kind of follow that line, because I'm really, and I'm very sensitive to that, by the way, and I'm just, I want you to help me understand that a little bit, because just in terms of what is historically accurate, and historically that the Jewish people have just been targeted a lot. I mean, if you go back and you go into Russia and that sort of thing, I mean, there's a long history of that. And I don't think that we necessarily have to hide from that, but I think that how you present that is important.
That's correct.
And by the way, the Apostle Paul was a Jew as well, as that remembers. So, right.
Right, and I think that part of the issue is that when we talk about the Apostle Paul, I don't think there are a lot of Christians who might identify themselves with that apostle. However, I think there are a lot of people who don't know Jews, who are not familiar with Jews, who might assign the actions of ancient Hebrews or the ancient Israelite community to Jews living here today, and that's where we get into trouble.
So you said that that there's some language in there about Jews and money and some of those old kind of stereotypes. Can you tell me where that is? I haven't seen that. I didn't.
Well, a lot of this is not blatant, but it also does not. If you ask follow-up questions, for example, the story about Esther, Queen Esther, that Emily Bourgeois brought to your attention, the portrayal of the Queen's uncle Mordecai is not particularly positive, and also it portrays him as being non-deferential to the authority, and I think there are just things that lead to misunderstanding that.
Well, Mordecai was rewarded. I mean, he was that they went back through this as, well, why haven't we done something for this guy? And so I mean, at least in the original text, he was very favorable.
Well, again, I mean, we could have a conversation about Bible. I don't see the Bible as something that we all understand in the same way. I also think the book of Esther is in a different category than other books of the Bible, which were part of the founding of our country. The laws of Deuteronomy that have to do with taking care of the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. Those are all really, part of the founding of this country. The story of Esther and Mordecai is not central to the story of the Jews. We could give you other stories that would be much more indicative of what we would want to be portrayed as in a public school curriculum for kindergarten through fifth graders.
Well, I think the point of it is that here is somebody that took a stand for something in the face of, and took a great personal risk to
Yeah.
stand for what is right.
Well, and if you compare it to other things in the
And who is a
curriculum.
woman, by the way, essentially an oppressed minority in a foreign country.
But using a biblical example instead of in that same section, I believe that the other people are contemporary or, more recent heroes. So why not pick someone like Sandy Koufax or Louis Brandeis or someone else who people can actually relate to? Why pick a biblical story where the origin, the factualness of it is debated by people of different religions? Why not pick something that's part of our American history that even people who are alive now can remember?
Okay, that's fair.